Especially you're going to be financing.
I lost too much weight too quick. My body's stressed.
I'm not doing it, because I'm doing that.
They think this virus.
You don't know. It's not official yet. Unofficially.
I fell up in the down.
Yeah. She said her key didn't work. I said that's the first thing we do is rekey the door before we key you out.
Sore, so I may think maybe I broke it.
You're probably using the wrong key.
Probably.
During the winter, I broke my collarbone. Oh, it's the most uncomfortable thing
Did it
ever.
hurt right
I
here?
could not get it to work.
Well, mine was actually in 2 spots.
I
Turn to the right?
I turned both ways.
Right there.
You got turned and then it kind of, it's a little stiff. It is a little stiff back here.
Or do they need it?
Sure to say, man.
I had my knee.
Oh, fine, thank you. Yeah, I think that was it. And went over everything that we can do for it and offer and stuff like that.
Hello, Mr. Nick.
That was about maybe 2 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Was that before?
That was after you talked to me. I think that was after you said you would let her know, contact and stuff. So she was following your direction, I think.
You're doing all right, huh?
I'm doing fine.
Twist on it? No.
I
I came right in.
Good.
I did. I twisted and held it right
You
open.
had
I pulled the door
I
open.
had the book in my hand and my purse. Now, let me let you put this in your hand and my purse and this, and then you try. I just decided one number that I was just gonna come around.
Okay. It worked.
He went the other way, time I got it.
79 and saw huge black smoke right over there.
Ooh.
It's barn fire and Ridgely Track Road.
Oh, really? What's going on?
Barn fire and Ridgely Track
Give me
Road.
this thing.
You look,
Yeah.
go outside here and there's a big plume. You can't see it because of the trees. But
If you're driving on 79, you can see.
oh yeah.
As long as it's not Coglan Toyota, we're okay. That's the only one we have.
Kind of over toward your
Yep.
house.
They said I think
What's
it
that?
was a barn.
Toward your house.
Sure is.
No, I don't think so.
I saw it's pretty much like parallel with if you're on 79, parallel like
Yeah.
right when I was turning into here. It was right to it.
That'd be in Whitney Township.
Me and Deb,
Yeah.
Deb and Brian. I think, didn't it?
Who's Jeremy?
There they go, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
There
It was
goes the
just
fire
I
truck.
saw this huge.
There went the truck.
Yeah, on that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is an ordinance to modify the injection of ordinance. What I'm doing is I'm specifying that instead of the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals, the Planning Commission be the application authority. And also what I'm doing is I'm adding the term fracking to, they have processes which require the code of the Planning Commission. I'm putting fracking with that as well.
I think the official term of it is fracturing, hydraulic fracturing. Fracking, I think, is a
Well, it's 5:30. We'll get started with the meeting.
hydraulic fracturing, I think.
Mayor Development, Brian, is he coming? Tim?
I don't know.
You make that
Crable won't
change.
be here, but I don't know about Brian.
Hydraulic fracturing.
John, you want to go ahead there?
I sure will. The first item on the ejection, injection well. And Keith, I didn't tell you this, I just put this together as a legislative request. You're all familiar with the term fracturing or hydraulic fracturing. It's been the buzzword around the state, right, for the last year. The mayor asked me to review the City of Heath ordinances in regard to this. And the city does have an ordinance in regard to extraction of minerals. And I'm just gonna pass that around for your information, if you wanna take a look at it.
What's the ordinance number?
19.
It's common.
Yeah, it's 1190. Anyway, the ordinance is very generic, and it was written 30, 40 years ago when we didn't have fracturing. And what I thought would be a good idea was to make sure that this ordinance did reference that. Now, I'm not suggesting that we outlaw it or do anything like that. What I'm suggesting in the ordinance is that we specify, first of all, the ordinance, if anyone wants to do mining or extraction of minerals in the city right now, they can only do it in areas zoned agricultural, and they have to have approval of the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals in order to do it. What I'm suggesting is the only thing that changed in the ordinance is that instead of the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals, it'd be the Planning Commission, because the Planning Commission seems to be more relevant body in determining what should be done and not done in the city, because that's basically their overall job. So I'm recommending, number one, that the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals be replaced with the Planning Commission. And number two, there's a section in the ordinance, and that is actually section 1199.01, the very first paragraph. It references the board on the second line. That means the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals. The other change that I'm suggesting is 1199.06 under the label of processing. And it basically says the crushing, washing, and refining of other similar processing may be authorized by the board, and I'm going to say Planning Commission. I would like to include under processing the term hydraulic fracturing, so that anyone wishing to do it would go before the board or the Planning Commission and get their approval to do it. So those are the recommendations that I'm making. They don't prohibit fracturing or hydraulic fracturing. They don't specify anything about it other than that it's a process that needs to get approval before it's done, and the Planning Commission will be the body to approve it.
Because there's not really a variance that somebody would be appealing for to the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals, right?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. It just doesn't seem logical that the BZBA would be the place for. BZBA hears appeals of decisions made by the city or requests for variances to, rules that we have.
Right. There are only two reasons to go before the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals. One is if the zoning inspector, someone feels, has made an error, which has never occurred. And I honestly say that. And the second one is if there is a hardship. If someone wants to do something, but there's a hardship that they have, and we could say, okay, we'll give you a variance because you have a hardship and we understand it's contrary to the ordinances, but you can do it. This is mining, and it really has nothing to do with hardships. So it really should go under the Planning Commission. So I have a legislative request, and if I can get Heath to sign it. Yes, sir.
Actually, everywhere in here where it says the word board, you want to replace planning commission.
Yes, replaced, and there's several
There are
areas.
several
that-
places that
Yeah.
are more than that, okay.
So it should be.
John, let me ask you this question. So, if we do this, this would mean that anybody within the city limits of Heath wanting to begin a well site would need to come before the Planning Commission. Is that right?
That's correct.
What if, and I don't know whether or not this is a possibility or not, but what if someone either has or wanted to build a location that they don't intend to actually extract oil or natural gas from, but would want to be used as a location for the injection of hydraulic fracturing water from a well at a different location? Would this also cover that, or does this just deal with if a new production well was going to be developed?
That the intent is to do both. The intent is to do both. And in the paragraph that discusses what processing is, which is where I put hydraulic fracturing, or other similar processing, it contains that sentence. So if you have hydraulic fracturing, crushing, washing, and refining, or other similar processing, in my opinion, that would certainly cover that.
Okay. Well, and the reason why I ask is because it's one thing to extract from the ground oil, natural gas, minerals, whatever. and it's another thing to inject into the ground a substance.
Would you feel more confident if we were to put, what would be the title of that?
That's actually fracking. The
About
fracking
any
is
well
the
drilling.
injection of the water down into the hole.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, but what I'm talking about, Doug, is okay. So you have fractured a well site.
Mhm.
You now have the water, the chemicals, the other materials
Right.
that are used to basically crack open the shale.
Right.
If we're talking Utica shale,
Right.
crack open the shale so that the oil and natural gas can. Now you still have a well full of this fluid that you used. They have to get that fluid out of the well before they can get any oil or natural gas or whatever. So that fluid that they use to open it, to fracture it,
Right.
has to be disposed of. It's disposed of through the process of injecting it into typically a well location.
Right.
Okay? So what I'm asking is does this ordinance that we're talking about cover not just the extraction of natural resources, but does it also include the injection of materials? Because it's, yeah, exactly.
The disposal was like they were talking in the paper of those brine wells.
Mhm.
That's where they wanted this
Mhm.
stuff to be able to be put, was into that brine well.
And it's that process has been going on for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is that in looking at this, talking about hydraulic fracturing, there's a difference between fracturing the well and then what do you do with that water and material and whatever that you use to do that.
The title of this one says extraction of materials. Do we have one that's injection, or do we change the title so it's all encompassing and change the title from this extraction to extraction and injection
Yeah,
of
see,
materials?
it just references extraction.
I would
Yeah, that's
say,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
If you change, I mean, do
Change-
we need a whole
change the
separate
whole chapter.
or do you just, so it's either, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Injection,
I
extraction
agree.
and injection
I think
materials,
you're right.
and then just add that to.
Yeah, and see, and I understand what you're saying, John. In the
Injection.
past,
Oh, yeah.
like for instance, I believe the location that's within the city of Heath that was outlined in the paper. If memory serves, that is a well location. That is a production well, or had been a production
Right.
well at least.
For one time.
And even at what was it? But back in the '80s, I think was when it was originally established.
I don't
or
even
whatever.
know. Yeah,
Okay.
it was.
So
yeah,
even back
no,
then,
no.
the process of having to dispose of, brine water or whatever, they use this injection well for that purpose. Okay.
But
But
when we
you
got
don't-
when we got the new well fill, then the freshwater ordinances covers that, because they can't use that now, because it may affect our well fill. Did you know that? Yeah. I bet you check with Johnny.
Where does it say that you can't use it?
It's in the EPA told us one time, and we changed that ordinance because there's two wells right over here on the side of the Ramp Creek, or not Ramp Creek, Licking River on the top there before you get to,
Yeah.
and they sealed those off.
Well, why?
Well, in 2011, what was it?
Now,
What did
that's
ODNR
back-
say? In 2010, I don't think anything was injected into that well.
Yeah.
In 2011, there was.
Very minimal.
A minimal, a minimal amount. See, so the question I'm raising, John, is this. Like Tim said, this just says extraction. It's one thing to have to dispose of this material, as they did here, right on the same property, okay, as part of its process. But it's another thing to take material from someplace else that wasn't used for the process of extracting anything within the city, but just taking that material and then injecting it into a well location here.
Well, why don't we just add under processing or disposal of materials related to any type of mining?
I think really Tim, really, that the heading of the chapter should read
Do
injection
You should do it both, change the heading of the
Injection.
chapter, and
or extraction.
could you hand back the legislative request? We'll do both, I mean, certainly.
Really, and then that's.
That way, if someone's looking for it, because right now, if you're looking for it, it says extraction, you might
Yeah.
not think to look in there
Yeah.
for the
For the
injection part of it.
part, and then add the injection down.
Extraction
to the other
or
one.
injection of materials,
Yeah.
keep the extraction first.
Because what I would like to see is that somebody wanting to use an existing or building a new location for the purpose of the disposal of this,
Yeah.
that they would have to come before the planning commission to do that.
So the first change we'll make will be extraction and disposal of minerals to the name of the chapter. Then we'll change throughout it, board to planning commission. And then under processing, we'll include hydraulic fracturing and disposal.
Injection, disposal, or something like that.
I'll just put disposal of any,
Material used in
right.
the
The
process,
fracking process.
the hydraulic fracturing process.
and dispose of any materials, generated.
Well, that well is where we get our brine water at, for the street.
No,
That isn't the well?
no.
Buy that.
Zero Blue Jay.
Extraction processes.
Well,
Blue Jay.
where's the well then that they were talking about? in
Off
the-
of Irving Wick, just off Irving Wick,
If you go up the hill. right
on the
past
east
Amber
side of the
Hill,
creek.
You
Yeah.
go up the hill, past the road tracks, up the hill, and immediately when you get to the top of the hill on the right, you're gonna see a couple of storage tanks.
Yeah, green tanks.
Yeah. Here we go.
Like what you see on the Phoenix property
You
there
mean-
off of Blue Jay.
You mean near my mother-in-law's place?
Just west of it,
That's
on
what
the
we
other
did.
side
Before
of
you
River
get-
Oaks condos.
Yeah, before you get
There's
to
a storage
River
tank
Oaks
right outside
condos.
of it, yeah. Our,
Okay.
Yeah.
Those tanks been there for
That's what I'm saying. Those tanks have been there for a very, very long
Long
time.
time.
And I'm not saying that this guy
Yeah.
is
okay, now I
planning
know what
on
you're talking
accepting, Utica shale hydraulic fracturing fluid. I'm not saying that.
about. Right, right. Now know
I
where
think,
you- yeah.
I think that, probably the purpose, and he and I traded some voicemails, and we probably need to make a concerted effort to actually have a conversation.
John Byers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really don't think that what he has is really conducive. I mean, you're talking about an awful lot of water used in that process. A lot of water.
Well, they're talking up in northern part of the county. They're talking near East Knox or Knox County. They're
Yeah, but-
talking taking 4 million gallons of water out of there. What is it, a day? Or, I forget, but it was gonna. Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I know it's a lot of
It's
water,
a
but
bunch of water.
See,
They need
I
that
don't
for
think
the
that I don't
process.
think that the injection well site off of Irving Wick, I don't think it could begin to handle that kind of volume.
If my memory serves right, you have to have EPA approval before you put anything in that well.
Well, if you go to ODNR's website, that well location is listed as a Class 2 injection well, which Class 2 injection wells are among those that can accept Utica shale hydraulic fracturing fluid. But I'm not sure that just because it's a Class 2, I'm not sure that it means that it also can accept the pressure and the volume needed for the disposal of the kind of stuff that we're talking about.
Because at the same time,
But see, what this change to the ordinance, I think, would do, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, what this change to the ordinance would do is that if someone wanted to do that, they'd have to come to the planning commission. And we can make sure of what it is, where it's coming from. Now, all those questions could be asked through the planning commission. And obviously, the planning commission is a public meeting, and so public comment could be accepted as part of that
I
meeting.
know, at the same time, that was approved for that. said that no one can drill a well within, I think it's a mile radius around that well fields without EPA approval.
But these wells were there
They
before
were
we
there
took
before
that, that property.
And they go beyond our well fields, depth-wise.
I just like, maybe I don't quite understand, but the water that comes out of this process is not put down into that disposable well at a very high pressure. It's not the pressure that would be used to break the shale. It would just be enough pressure, you're a waterman, it would just be enough pressure to get that to go down into the well. It wouldn't be at high pressure, I wouldn't think, or would it?
I think you would somehow have to pressurize it in
Well,
order
yeah,
for
but
it
I'm
to.
saying, yeah, but I'm saying that I don't think that the pressure that would be used to put that water down into that well would be a great,
Well,
you know,
a well like that is probably already been fractured,
Yes.
and it has voids in it.
Right.
So it
and
wouldn't
that's
take
what, yeah.
much, it would just like seep into the gas. If it was put in slow enough,
Yeah.
I would guess.
So they
I mean,
wouldn't be putting
doesn't
them
it
in
stand to
high
reason
pressure.
that if you're drilling a well, either a straight or if you're horizontally going, it takes a pretty high amount of pressure in order to fracture the material under the ground that allows the oil and natural gas then to seep through there into and eventually into the well shaft itself. Well, if you're going to dispose water down that well, if you want it to get into the same cracks and crevices that the oil drained out of, it stands to reason that you would have to utilize some level of pressure in order to push it
The
into
huge
those
difference
areas.
is between vertically and horizontally. Yeah, horizontally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These wells are straight down.
Yeah.
Straight,
They're
yes.
not
65,
Yeah.
6,500, 7,000 feet, but they're
So-
straight down,
So
and
that
then they leak out.
it wouldn't take near the pressure though to.
Okay.
Yeah. See, for years and years and years and years, the process of going straight down and then fracturing has been utilized.
Oh, yeah.
What this does, it allows you to go down, then it allows you
And
to
they
go
go
out,
horizontal.
and then you
That's when they
fracture.
frack it, yeah. Yeah.
And I think, from what I understand, like I said, some of the chemicals and things like that that are used in the water and materials or whatever that's used in this hydraulic fracturing, some of those are different maybe
Yeah.
than what had been used before.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're just going straight down. So do you think that would cover then the things that we're talking about here?
Definitely.
Those
with the
changes?
modifications we made, yes.
You guys all right with that?
What I'll do is I'll rewrite that, so it's a little more clean, but I've got all the important facts down.
Would so the ordinance would be drawn up and read for the first time then in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You just have a legislative request tonight to make the change,
That's all
right?
it is,
Yeah.
and I'll go through and read it.
Sounds good.
Right ahead, John.
Okay, item number 2, blighted properties. In May, we received a letter from the Licking County Planning Commission. The state has awarded Licking County a little over $1 million to allow for the demolition of properties that are blighted. And basically by blighted, they mean vacant, abandoned properties. And we were asked to go through the city and determine if such properties existed. Now, this program, although the county was approached by the state, would actually be handled by the city of Newark, because the city of Newark already has a program using state money to demolish abandoned structures. So this would basically be an addendum to Newark's policy, but Newark would handle the whole county. And the city of Heath was asked to identify if we had any blighted structures. And so what we did is we went through looking for houses that were specifically abandoned and in bad shape. That's what will qualify. Starting with Willowridge. No.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I know of one.
there are four that we felt met this description. One at 777 Licking View Drive. This property has been, let's see,
It's what, just a house or two north of Hopewell, right?
Hopewell, right. It's a vacant house, it's got a little boat in front of it.
And then there's another one.
The roof is pretty much gone. All
It's in the third ward.
And, well, let's see if we have it. Another one is 1949 Heath Road. If you go down to where the movie theater, the drive-in theater used to be, on that property, there's an old abandoned farmhouse. Another is 945 Ethel Ave, which is on my street. It's, if you remember, about 3 years ago, somebody shot his wife and killed her in the parking lot of Licking Memorial. That house has been abandoned, it's been open. And the last one is in the third ward. This one we had is 680 South 2nd Street. It's where the old monuments used to be and stuff like that. Close to where Deborah lives and Keith.
Okay, but I've got.
Does it have a fence around it?
Yeah.
Chain link fence?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It's got the air mail.
One more.
Yes.
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 What is yours?
It's on Summit.
On Summit. Okay.
If you go, there's a lane that goes up. You go up this lane, you barely get to the top, but when you get to the top, and there's a house right there that's almost fallen down. It is almost, I mean,
Is that the one that has
bad.
a log cabin inside it?
Well, I never went near it. It just, the roof looked to me like it was caving in and,
No.
Why don't you go with Doug maybe when we're done and take a look at the aerial on the GIS
Okay.
and see if he can point it out.
Because I know what you're talking about. Because years ago,
somebody built a cabin inside of that thing.
well, no, there was an originally, and there still is a log cabin. There are actually two houses on that property. If
But
you go
one's
up-
inside the other?
Well, two houses, if you go up the driveway, one house on the left, which is a newer one house on the right. The one on the right, actually, they had a log cabin there, and what they did is they built walls and stuff around the log cabin, the outside of the log
Really?
cabin, and then they abandoned it. Now, I don't know if that's what you're talking about, or it's another one. Well, I'll just go out with you, maybe we can find a time to do it.
Say you had one on Second Street?
One on South Second Street, it's actually at the intersection of Grandview and
Right,
South Second Street.
straight ahead.
Right. So if we'll take a look at that, and if we can add it to the list, we
Okay.
certainly will. So,
And that one on the corner of Ethel and Franklin sure does look like a mess.
behind.
most of the time.
that's got it.
One over on Grandview,
Yeah, the barn.
there's a
Okay.
barn behind there with the roof falling in.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
Tear it down.
That's on Grand.
Yeah, will you pay to tear that down? So I don't have to?
Oh, that yours?
Is that your?
I just assumed that was not your
Nah,
property.
it is. We got a bunch of junk in there. I wanna get the scrap metal out of it first and then cave the thing in. Gonna have Layton's tear it down, but wait till I could get time to haul the valuable, the scrap stuff out of the inside. Yeah, there's nothing in there that's any of use. I mean, it's just, you know.
Do you know, are the taxes in rearage or on these properties?
I don't know. The nice thing about this is, other than identifying the properties that are, in our opinion, were blighted, we turn the whole thing over to the administrative authority, which will be the city of Newark. They contact the property owners. They look at the tax records and everything else. Now, these four properties, I think the 777 Licking View Drive is in the rear.
Oh, yeah.
The other three are probably paid up as far as property tax goes. So that will have to be determined. What,
So
What's your criteria?
have the properties
What's your
have the
criteria?
properties been abandoned? If they're actually still paying the taxes on it?
if the structures are unoccupied and the building has deteriorated to the extent that the windows are broken, there's no doors, it's falling apart, falling in, it's considered blighted or abandoned.
So even though maybe I'm either owning it free and clear or paying the mortgage on it, even if I'm paying the taxes, if they're all up to date, they could say this is the house is dilapidated enough that we're gonna tear it down on your property?
And probably in every case, the homeowner would agree because the house has no value. I mean, it's unoccupiable.
Yeah, they'd
They
probably
would have to
welcome it.
tear it
More
down and
value
rebuild
is
on
vacant,
it.
probably
Yeah.
valuable for a vacant lot.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I say,
So-
if I had my barn down, I'd take it in a heartbeat.
In Newark, when they've done that, like if you go on near the sheriff's office on the other side of the road, there are a bunch of new houses down there that they using this, not this exact $1 million, but this program knocked down those houses and they rebuilt themselves.
Okay.
And the sale, and I'm not sure how it works. I mean, I don't think that the city makes money from the sale. I think it's,
Yeah.
well, maybe if they build the house, I don't know.
It's just something to
if-
encourage a redevelopment of that land or something.
right, and it just looks better.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
now, we were supposed to have all this, and we got it to the county by May 30th. So I'll see if they'll
You
allow
can
us to go
amend it?
past the deadline.
To amend it?
Right. So,
Tell them what they said about your submissions.
yeah,
Remember? Tell them what they said. You can toot your horn. Remember? Didn't they say you did such a great job with it or something?
we were the first ones to submit this to the county. And apparently our format was so good, they sent letters out to all the other municipalities saying, follow Heath's example.
Good.
Who did you submit it to with the
Would
county?
that have been Warren?
Yeah, Warren letter. Yeah. So anyway, I'll double check Chuck, or John, Tom, Dick, and Harry.
When we're done here, if you've got an aerial thing in there, I'll bet you I can show you which one I'm.
Okay, if you've got a few minutes, we'll go back there and look. And if I can, we'll add it to them.
Okay.
Do we know how many other properties from around Licking County were submitted through this since the cutoff was last week?
No, we can find out.
Okay.
I'm sure Warren would give us a list. So,
And then the city of Newark is administrating the program. right?
yes, because they already have a program set up to do this.
Okay.
It makes sense to do that. So, and probably it'll go to the engineer's office, they do everything anyway. Anyway, any questions on that? It's a good program, it won't cost us anything, and it may help us a little.
Tim's in charge of the good for nothing.
Yeah. Anything else on item number 2? Item number 3 is informational. The Humane Society has had plans approved by the Planning Commission to improve the property on Thornwood Drive that they recently purchased. They are pretty neat plans. They're now trying to get funding through donations to implement the plans. So I'm not sure when they'll begin doing the improvements to the property, but I would guess by the end of the year probably. So just a little update on that.
Groundbreaking's the 6th at noon, isn't it?
I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Groundbreaking's
Wednesday.
Wednesday at noon.
Yeah.
They have some really nice plans for that too. It allow private individuals like us to take our dogs out there to go on dog runs and things like that. It looks like a very humane way to take care of animals. So I congratulate them on doing that work. Item number 4 is a little good news. State Route 13, remember a few meetings back, ODOT announced that they have to do some work on State Route 13 in the vicinity of our water tower. I think the closure of Newark South 2nd Street Bridge was kind of the final determining factor in delaying that for at least a year because of all the construction work in Heath and the closure of that bridge. And they're absolutely right. I'm glad they're thinking this way. It would not be a good idea to begin work on State Route 13 in that area because it's a detour route. So ODOT issued a letter stating that they will delay until next year the repairs necessary in that area.
Is that up by the radio station?
Yes, by the radio station.
It's right there, you know where the guy has the church? What's his name?
Friend.
Friend.
Yeah.
Well, right there, along that guardrail part right there is where it's at.
Off of the radio station.
Yep.
Parking lot.
Falling away on both sides.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. That's one less thing we have to worry about. Any questions on that? Item number 5, grass cutting report. Every year during the summer, as we get grass cut, we report the information on the cost to council. Then we ask Lynn Hunt to forward it to the Licking County Auditor so they can put it against the tax duplicate and we get reimbursed. There are 3 properties right now, 55 Barb Ave, 945 Ethel Ave, and 227 Field Point that we've had the grass cut at our expense. So if you could forward that to Lynn, she will take care of handling that. And what we do is we tack on a $35 administrative fee to the actual cost for having it mowed. We've sent out a lot, I don't know the number, but we've sent out a lot of letters for uncut grass. The bulk of them have been taken care of, which I breathe a sigh of relief on, because I hate to use the city's money to cut that. Because we don't get the full amount of the money back, because the county takes out an administrative fee of their own. So, but so far this year, we've had a large number of properties with uncut grass, but fortunately, the bulk of them, I'd say about 65–70%, have had the grass taken care of at their own expense prior to us having to do it.
When you have, I asked this question to John Geller, and I ask you, because we put this on the auditors all the time. And think, have we been getting money back for any that we have paid? I mean, when they pay the property tax, and does that money just come back and then automatically go in? Because I don't remember us ever having to reappropriate the money back into the accounts and stuff.
Well, the checks are made to me.
Have you got? I mean, you know,
We
money
do.
has come back and just automatically goes back.
Right, I
into your
check
account.
with Linda Richards, and when the county does send the reimbursements back, it has for grass cutting reimbursement.
Oh, okay.
And she puts it into the general fund. Now, what I normally don't do with grass cutting is I don't go back to council and say, okay, I spent $500, reimburse me. I'll do it for other things, but that's not enough for me to do that, so I don't come back to council and ask for a reimbursement on that.
You just budget for it.
I just budget for it. and let it go.
Okay. Well, because I talked to John Geller the other night about it, and he said he's getting money back, and I said, well, you know how we get checks from like Walmart for like the fire department or police department, then we have to say, oh, let's put it in their fund and stuff. But when it comes back from the auditors, it's automatically earmarked for
General fund.
or whatever, and then goes, okay.
Right, I don't bother asking for it now.
Okay.
So, and I expect usually for the first half of the summer, we get a lot of these, and then things slow down for the second half. Grass doesn't grow as fast, and people kind of get the idea. They start cutting them without our pushing them so much. So, but over the past 4 or 5 years, because of the economic conditions, we've seen a lot more of this. So this is not unusual at all. And I would expect probably by the end of the summer, I'll have another 10 or 15 more properties I'll be reporting to.
Not done right.
Unless it doesn't. Item number 6, project updates, very quickly. The State Route 79 project is moving along. This week, there's a gap between the edge of the pavement and the new curves they put in. They'll be asphalting that. And in the next couple of weeks, they'll be doing more landscaping work, finishing off the driveway entrances and things like that. And in about 3 weeks will come the big closure of the center strip, the turn lane. They'll begin working there to install the median. At that time, most of the work will be done at night because they're going to have to close down lanes. So at night, probably after 8 o'clock, there'll be one northbound, one southbound lane. And the ability to turn left will be restricted in some areas. During the daytime, we'll have 2 northbound, 2 southbound lanes. You should be able to turn left at all the intersections. Plus, we're hoping to have a U-turn system working at that time as well to compensate for not having the ability to turn left at any particular location. So in about 3 to 4 weeks, the really big change will be coming on 79.
Question on the lanes, will you continue with the same lanes that you have, or will they be changed?
They're gonna change, they're gonna have to change them.
Okay, so they'll be restriping the
They'll be
lanes?
restriped,
Okay,
yes.
because I had some comments that, of course, we haven't had a lot of rain, but on dark rainy nights,
It is hard.
It's hard to see.
hard to see.
Yeah.
But it's also, for me, hard to see coming this way and going to turn on 30th Street.
But, yeah, they will be restriping
Okay.
to define the center line.
Okay.
So that will be done. And so far on that project, change orders, ODOT has covered all of the change orders for us. And we're a little ahead actually on the change orders for the water line. So at this point, we have nothing as far as change orders go. Whether or not we'll be able to hold that status, I don't know. ODOT's been very cooperative with us. We'll have to wait and see because we do have some change orders coming. The Thornwood Drive culvert, we are finalizing the right-of-way acquisition. The only thing left on right-of-way acquisition is our law director or the prosecutor has to file for an appropriation or taking the property with the courts because one property is abandoned. It's in the township that we need a couple hundred square feet of property from. And once that's done, we can actually begin construction. That'll free up right away for construction. So we're within probably, I'd say, 8 weeks of construction, 8 to 10 weeks of construction on that.
Who's doing that one?
We don't have contractors. ODOT will be overseeing it, but we don't have a contractor selected yet.
When do they think they're gonna break ground then?
I'm
This goes
thinking-
through with the right of way.
I'm thinking around
July?
end of July, early August, something like that.
How long will that take?
It could be as long as 3 weeks to have that section of Thornwood closed. It could be less than that.
Be nice if they could have that ready before school starts, but.
That's what they'd like to do. So we're gonna push it and see. And then finally, Hopewell Drive Bridge, I think we discussed that a little already. That's set for June 11th, and that's pretty much on schedule. Now, there is one thing I want to say. It's consider it a plea from me. There are a lot of projects that need to be done that we're just not doing. Believe it or not, there is money out there from OPWC, from the feds and LCATs that's available to do these projects. Whether they're culvert replacements, some street repairs, things like that, that we are not asking for. And the reason is that for every project we do, we have to supply a match. And these matches could be $60,000, $80,000, $100,000. And we don't have money in our capital improvement program to do that. I'm not saying that as, attacking anyone or anything else. I just want you to know. We have ADA, Americans with Disability, requirements out there that we're not even meeting or getting close to meeting. Things like this, projects like that we're not even planning for because we know the funding isn't there. If you have the opportunity someday, this is a terrible thing to say, but I'll go ahead and say it, and then people can kill me if they want. If you have the opportunity, you're so inclined to look for increases in income tax or anything like that, percents, half percents, quarter percents, we desperately need it because there are a lot of projects out there that the city really needs badly that we just can't do. And we don't have the income to do them. And I'm just bringing this up because I know it's really tough for you guys to consider something like that. But I'm only bringing it up because the infrastructure, although it may seem like we're doing a lot of really neat and a lot of expensive projects, and we are, there's a lot that's just not getting done. And I just want to put that thought in your mind, because if we continue not to get things done, you're not going to see much of a problem in the next 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. But I can guarantee you in the next 6 years and beyond, we're going to have a lot of problems. They're just coming, and all we're doing is pushing them off. And I know politically, maybe even personally, it's a hard thing to consider, but I hope sometime in the future, because we have really no other way of getting revenue into the city, that you consider something along those lines. I mean, the public may crucify me for saying that, but I see the other end of the spectrum where the problems are going to come and haunt us. And when we get there, there's probably no coming back. There's no opportunity to get ahead or even get even again. We have an opportunity, if we act soon, to get back to where we should be for infrastructure repair. But if we delay that too much longer, we're going to be behind the 8 ball, and our infrastructure is going to be so old, so dilapidated, that we will never again be able to keep up with its maintenance. It's a tough decision, but we're pretty much at that threshold where we either have to do it or we pretty much give up on the system. So, enough said.
Hey, did you tell them about the stamped brick?
Oh, yeah, one other thing. Right or not, I didn't bring it with me. The mayor, Eddie Hunt, and I last week went down and the contractor for 79 put together some sample pavements for the brick that we're going to have in the median. And they are at the bottom of Radiant Drive. As you go down the new Radiant Drive and make the turn, there are two samples on the ground of red embossed concrete, and they look really, really good. This is what we're going to see in the median. And if you have a few minutes, you may want to go down there and take a look at them. So I wanted amber again like the bridge, but I was overruled. And well, anyway, but this is an amber, I promise you that. It's a nice looking, very attractive brick, a red brick. It will be there.
The concrete comes with a dye already in it, so that all of the concrete is the color of brick. It's not like painted that way or anything. It's all the color of brick. They put the concrete down, and then they stamp basically the brick impression, and then they cover it with some sort of a top coat, some sort of a sealant or something like that. And there were two options that we looked at. One was bricks, that just kind of were in a row together like this. The other were bricks that were herringbone, is that what it's called?
Herringbone.
Like at a 90 to each other, and that really looked good. So that's the option that we've chosen for the stamping of the brick. And then they're making the impression of Tim's face, right? That's going to go on the end.
Yes.
Is that right?
I'm just going to suggest you make sure it's low strength concrete, so in a few years when we decide to tear it out, it's hard to tear out.
It's gonna be, when it's put down, not real high, right?
The median's only going to be 6 inches high.
The reason I'm saying that is because if any of our safety equipment has to go down that roadway.
They're not going to.
Okay.
They're not going to be able to.
They can cross the median if they're careful. A police car couldn't, but a fire engine could easily cross the median.
I'm just saying that.
But you're not going to be able to, in any way, shape, or form, drive down the median because it's
No, I
either
know
going to
that,
be.
I know that, but what I'm saying is that
And rip
there
out the
may be
underside of your car.
portions that they need to get over
They
up
can,
on that.
if they're careful, they can go right. They can go right over. Yeah. Yep.
It's gonna be a pain in the,
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
I hope they don't have to go down there, but,
Both, as I've said on numerous occasions, both Chief Huggins and Chief Shepherd have been made aware that at certain days, certain times of days, it's going to be hard to get emergency equipment through there, and they, have plans to access accordingly.
And one thing this construction's done is the center turn lane or other lanes have been closed so frequently during the project. It's kind of preconditioning our safety forces in regard to what it's going to be like when that lane is in. So they have had a taste of it now for several months and how to adjust and deal with it.
And the problem is the others, the drivers, there's your problem.
Yeah, they're always the problem.
Where are they gonna go?
Any other
You have to have a
questions?
sidewalk. Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, we're still trying.
They do that. It's amazing.
We're not the first one to get it, so. Berea has it, Whitehall has it, Columbus has it.
The hope on
Got it.
That brick stamp just right. So
I love it.
take it and lay it on the first
Yes.
side before we tear it out there.
Now, are you the right one to ask me?
I was thinking.
Where's it stand?
Well, the
That would
bike
be ADA
path
compliant, then can't have it rough like that.
to the Port Authority is complete and it's open. The problem is of the washout that we had And Bob Geller in the Parks Department, you appropriated $20,000
Right.
for Bob in the Parks Department to repair that. And I went by today and they're already removing the fence and stuff like that. And so they are getting it back in shape. I'm not sure, I'd say probably 4 to 5 weeks, and then hopefully we'll have that done and cleared up. So Bob Geller has that in hand. Any other questions on any of the projects? I've got one other subject. Okay, the Star Spangled Celebration is on cue for going on July 2nd again. And I think we're gonna have another really good one. Got a lot of vendors, we've got some really good stage entertainment. Everything is coming into play very well. We have one significant problem, and that is we desperately need volunteers to help us with parking. And I appreciate it. We got your name, and to help us with the inflatables. I think Deborah volunteered. And what's happening is the organizations that have booths don't have enough people to supply us with help for that. So we have been going out. I put, for the last month in Heath News, I've had a note on it. I've written more articles on it. I've contacted organizations and businesses and churches asking for volunteers. We need volunteers to help us park and volunteers to help us with inflatables. We probably need up to 30 people to do that. So far, I'd say we've got maybe 10. And that's not enough to cover the event at all. I mean, we've got 3 people for the inflatables, maybe 7 to park, and you can't count on those people to do it the whole time because that's too much. So if any of you know of any individuals or organizations that are willing to help us, please have them contact me because we really, really need it. And I'll be honest with you, if we can't get volunteers to help us with this, we can't put the event on. There's not a threat or anything else. I want to put the event on. I want to do it. We've got everything going. I mean, we've got donations coming in, we've got everything else, but you can't do it with a committee of 6 or 7 people. We need a lot of people on the day of the event to help us. So please, if you know people or organizations, please let us know. It's really, really important.
What is the Star Spangled Committee? It's not like an official 501c3, is it?
No.
Okay. Well, you know what I'm wondering is, I don't know that Heath High School has it as formalized, but Licking Valley, as a condition of graduation, requires their students to perform X amount of hours of charity work, community service work, whatever. And now I don't know if you need to actually be considered a 501c3, and since it's summer, I don't even know who you'd be able to get a hold of. But I'm just wondering, could that be a resource for a high school kid looking to meet the hours that they need in order to graduate? And yet, Star Spangled Celebration is kind of fun,
Yeah, it could, and I mean,
That might
all
be
we're doing
attractive
is
to a high school
parking and
student.
inflatables. You're not talking about a lot of
Yeah.
responsibility stuff.
Yeah,
So
they're
yes, yeah. I mean, if there's something like that existed, we'd be glad to.
Like I said, I don't know that it's something that's as formalized at Heath High School, but in Licking Valley, you have to do this or you don't graduate, is my understanding.
Well, that's a great idea. And anyone who is part of any organization knows that you have maybe 100 members and maybe 10 are active.
Right.
And that's it. And that's what we're facing here. We've got a lot of good organizations, but their membership isn't composed of a lot of highly active people who want to do this. So anything such as Mark suggested, whatever, would be greatly appreciated. And I'm sorry, Deborah.
I have 2 things. The first might be a little out there, but thinking outside the box, try to give some help. When we have, like, at our organization, we set up, like, at the Hartford Fair, Haskell Street Fair, Kids Fest, and those kinds of things. And staff that volunteer to do that, which is outside normal business hours, get to adjust time off of their work week. Any chance any of your employees could do anything like that? Be allowed some time off so that they could then help with this? I know your staff might be small, it might be difficult, but.
That's a good question. I don't know
it's not exactly your, I mean, you're not exactly setting up to represent the city there, so.
I don't know, the thing that immediately comes to mind is I don't know how that plays with the contract.
Right.
There's nothing in the contract that certainly speaks to that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. The other thing was, we talked a while back, and I just wondered if we're still going that direction, about having our council meeting that day at noon, so that we,
Oh yeah, that was, yeah, what was,
Well, why you brought it up, we talked a little bit earlier about it, but I said, right now, I was thinking about having the meeting at 12:30.
okay,
That way, I can leave work at 12, get here and stuff like that. But essentially, have it at 12:30. We'll be done by 1. I mean, half hour. No committee meeting. John's committee wouldn't meet that night.
yeah,
Finance and budget, just if we needed to go through something real quick, could do it. And then just run through try to have everything, don't waive it, just more or less be read and held for the second, held for a second, held for a second. Anything that's already on the agenda, we vote on real quick. But the committee reports, just say, I'll give my report at the next meeting, give my report at the next meeting.
Okay.
So our next meeting would be a longer one,
right.
but this will just be short. Anything that had to be said, if it was important, yeah, you could say it, but essentially keep it as quick as, yeah. I mean, meet here, we go in there and meet.
Right.
Anything, and then when we're done at, let's say 1 o'clock, if people needed to go over to Geller to get set up for whatever they're helping out or wanted to help out, they'd have the rest of the afternoon off.
Do you need a motion or something to make the meeting?
no, you just
No.
publicize
Just
it.
publicize tonight.
Yeah, we just need to make sure.
He just has to have Lynn advertise it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got plenty of time to do that, so.
Yeah.
So is that agreeable to everybody? I mean, everyone can make that?
Yeah.
Can you make it?
I can.
I mean, someone had talked about, we talked about maybe doing lunch or something like that, but I'm thinking if you want to get over there and, so it's, just do lunch on your own or whatever afterwards,
Brian,
It's gotta be ready and announced next meeting.
okay.
We'll need to firm it up and announce it for sure next meeting.
Right.
Or this meeting.
Yeah, I'll just announce it tonight.
Yeah.
You're gonna be there anyways. Not like I'll be one of the vendors, but.
Anything else, Chuck?
That's what I've got, Cletus, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions on any of these topics? Meeting's over. 6:24.
Do finance?
Do finance, might as well, then we take a long break. You need a break? I need a break.
Yeah, I gotta get home.
Okay, well, we'll do finance real quick then. Jeff?
You don't get one.
Hey, Charlie?
The other thing I'd like to do is once Dave gets here, make sure, see if we can table that thing. The courtesy. We need to have 5 people to do that.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call Finance Committee to order at 6:25. We have 3 legislative requests on the agenda tonight. The first is to appropriate $1,095,290.59 within the water capital improvements for the Franklin Avenue Water Line Project. Jimmy, add on that.
You have a stack of new,
Yes,
and if those need to be passed out, and those, what Deborah is passing out needs to replace what you have in your folder. So discard the one that came with,
with this, with our agenda,
yes.
okay, and take out.
I don't know if that's the next one or not.
It's a,
Anyone else need another one? Not next one.
Take that one out.
throw that one away and replace with, so you'll be replacing the one with the handwritten 4412 with the one that's printed.
Got it.
There's some complexities in regards, of course, this Franklin Avenue line is grant, 0% loan, and city money. So it's just a little complicated. We had some challenges with the wording.
So nothing really changed in the ordinance, it's just cleaning them up.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this prior, any further discussion, questions?
Is that what?
Further discussion or questions about this legislative request? All right, who else will find this with me? Who else will find this with me? You? Okay, you're good. All right, that's what I thought you were telling me. I thought it was, but. Okay, second legislative request is to authorize and direct the mayor to enter into contract with Burgess and Nyepel for construction management services for the Franklin Avenue Waterline project, waiving the bidding process. Any discussion, questions about that? Anything to add on that, Heath? Anything? You okay with this?
Do you have a dollar amount on that?
Yeah, it's 40,000. It's in the legislative request.
I just didn't see it here, so that's right here.
Where's the 40,000?
Well, it's this one, isn't it? You gave me the wrong one.
I gave you the wrong one. Okay. Wow. I'll give you that one back. I was gonna say this one's really one. I did. I'm just saying if you're paying attention.
45 doesn't say it in there. Is there a new one in there?
No.
No, it's 4,000. Pass those down.
You want them or Lynn gives it to me?
So, Lynn is not gonna be here this evening.
I think if you know the amount, it's nice for people to know what the amount is, but it doesn't have to be, I guess, but it could
All
be
right.
$4 million.
The third legislative request
Would you like
is
to
the
know how
one that
much
we
it is
talked
here?
talked about
Would it go
tonight in regard to amending chapter 1199.06. We're gonna change the chapter name to extraction and disposal of minerals, yeah, hydraulic fracturing is gonna be added, and we're gonna change, everywhere it says board, it's gonna be changed to planning commission, and it's going, the title's also gonna say, I'm trying to read this, I know it's supposed to say injection or extraction. So, any further discussion on that?
Yeah, can I read this?
Yes.
Oh, you were here.
I'm wondering what's right. It's just that we want to change that thing so that everywhere it says board is gonna say planning commission. And then it's also gonna say injecting or extracting minerals. And then injecting is the water that has to be put down in for the fracking procedure. It's not covered, and it will be covered, because has to go through the planning commission before they can do that.
Just basically, it says extraction of minerals, it's gonna say injection or extraction of minerals, and every place that says board is going to say planning commission. It's to cover the fracking that's coming, to make sure that before that would happen, it's gonna come through us.
It's gotta go through the planning commission.
I think we should, I talked about this, discussed this earlier, I think we should, as a city, ban, if we can't fracking, I don't know if we can ban fracking, but we surely ought to ban injection of the fracking
See,
fluids.
all this stuff can only be done in agricultural zone areas. And the zoning and building appeals committee must approve anything.
There's agricultural property on Lincoln View Drive or Hopewell Drive, there's agricultural property, I tried to see fracking there, but, you know, there's a lot of it. I know it's maybe not the place to finance for it, but, I don't know if anybody realizes, but the material they're putting down these wells, the reason they're putting it down there is because they can't treat it. There's no process available to extract the pollutants that are in there, and I can get back with you the exact particular item that it is. It can't be treated. So
I don't think you'd be able to, Brian, because the state has said that some of the chemicals used in that process don't have to be disclosed for proprietary reasons.
but we can ban.
No, I mean, I just wanted to clarify what you said. When you say you can tell us, I don't think you can.
No, actually, I can't. No, actually, I can't. I can't come back with, there's one specific substance, and I will find out what it is and let you know. There's one substance that can't necessarily be precipitated. Metals treatment is usually for precipitation, treatment of waters, it's all pH adjustment, and there is an item, and I will get the exact name of it, and it is a byproduct of this process, and it cannot be precipitated, it can't be treated. They don't know what the effect of this product is going to have on the aquatic life, so therefore they banned it from going to a pretreatment or a centralized wastewater treatment facility, because they don't know where it's gonna be down the road. So, I don't know, I mean, that's why they wanna, do the deep well injection, and, I mean, it takes one time to ruin your water table and it's over with, it's done.
I think John's idea behind this is that, as the ordinance is worded right now, it says that you should go to BZBA. BZBA is not really the appropriate body to make a decision like this. BZBA is to go with if you are seeking a variance on some existing ordinance, or if, you know, John's office has told you need to do something and you think they're wrong. The Planning Commission, really, I think, is the more appropriate body to ever hear issues like this. Now, one of the questions that I raised when this topic came up earlier was that the ordinance talks about the extraction of oil, natural gas, whatever. Okay. But it doesn't talk about the injection of any, you know, from some other well site in some other area. It doesn't talk about the injection of that, the byproduct of that process in the city. And so this ordinance then would we feel broaden to also encompass that as well, so that if anybody wanted to take hydraulic fracturing fluid from some well location in Pennsylvania, they'd have to come to the Planning Commission first before they could do that.
Well, that might be by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources said that there's a type 2 well out there that can accept.
Well, type 2 wells can accept it. Whether that particular one can or not is questionable.
They gotta go before the Planning Commission first.
And without
According to
this,
that
there's nothing to
ordinance,
prohibit it from happening now, because we don't have any.
Yeah, because you're not extracting anything. You're injecting.
Well, but good, we're starting to type, you know,
Right.
this is a plus, that
Yes.
but I guess it was the wrong
You
place
have
to
to go
bring,
the way.
it was the wrong place to bring it up, but we should do what we can do, in my opinion.
This is at least a safeguard, we'll have still be a second opportunity for someone to look at it before it happens.
It's a good start.
Okay, Ms. Cletus? No further questions, Rob? Okay, and then under other items, the first item, city impound and surplus auction, June 9th, 10 a.m., Geller Park. Anything to add on that, Keith?
35 cars, 15 bicycles, stuff from the cars, which,
Yeah.
Still
our favorite option.
there's, we're gonna dispose of a fair-sized lawnmower that the Fire Station 1, I think, had, and it's got a blown oil seal, rear seal, so it's in need of repair. There's also a fairly significant sized steam jet cleaner, or I'm not sure just what they call it, a steam cleaner, power washer.
Does it use steam or just high pressure water?
I thought it was steam. He said it'd take paint off an engine block.
Oh, wow.
So
A lot of them will do both. I mean,
If
Oh, is
the
that
pressure's
right?
high
you
enough,
can
yeah.
use the pressure without the steam.
Okay.
and the
Hey, Dave.
fire chief said that it functioned when they last used it. He said the primary problem with the unit is that they used it so infrequently that I think didn't function well because of lack of use. So I expect it will be a fast-moving auction, and I expect to be out of there by noon.
You have any Michelin tires? I had a flat tire coming on 79 yesterday. I have a thing in my tire, this big piece of metal about that big around. The guy that at the tire place said it's like something used for frog gigging, so it's not related to any construction or anything. Yeah, frog gigging, but it did a number on my tire.
Jumped out of his truck from.
I guess, I don't know.
To buy a tire, you will have to buy an entire vehicle.
Which in some cases is cheaper than the tire.
All right, anybody have any questions on that, on the surplus auction? Okay. Item 2, Deborah Fleming has 14 years with the city of Heath. Probably says it all, doesn't it? And does everybody know who Deborah Fleming is?
She's the pleasant lady up the
Yes. Okay. Item 3, the John Deere mower at wastewater sold on eBay for $2,510. Was paid for and picked up by the new owner from South Carolina this morning. That's great. Good job, Keith. Anybody, did you have you wanted to elaborate on it?
Nick, it wasn't worth $25.15 to you?
No, not to me. It was worth every bit of that. Not to me. I don't have that much crap.
Yeah.
Well, for someone to drive from South Carolina to get it too, so must have been. All right, item 4, pool preseason revenue. 2011 was $65,280. 2012 was $79,654. So we're up $14,374 or 22%. So that's good.
That is, yeah, I can't explain why that is.
I went down to the trailer this afternoon just because I hadn't gotten my photograph taken yet with my membership. So I went down there, walked down there and did that. And the people working the trailer said that they've been busy too with new membership applications.
Do we supposed to go down there and pictures thing?
Yes. That's something new this year. And Bob has described this. There's that trailer that's out in front. And that's where the first time that you go to the pool, or if you're just buying a membership, you might as well just take care of it then too. You go to the trailer, you get your membership all taken care of, and then they'll photograph each member in the membership. Like if it's a family membership, they'll photograph everybody. And Cletus, the primary reason behind that is that too often,
Yeah, he told us.
one day Jimmy is Jimmy, and the next day Jimmy is Ken, and the day after that Jimmy is Joe. And so now we'll have a photograph associated with Jimmy so that Jimmy can only be Jimmy.
I was down there one day when Mitchell had a case like that.
I couldn't believe, was it Saturday I was buying here? Parking lot was almost full. It was cold.
I was there Saturday, and it was not at all crowded inside the pool. And it was cold. That wind was cold.
I was working out in the yard. I could hear the diving board clicking.
Emily wanted me to get in. I said, absolutely no way in the world is that going to happen.
Were the kids in with blue lips and everything?
They were in, yes, yes.
The water temperature, they tell me, is pretty warm.
Yeah, it's 79 right now or whatever. That's what it was this afternoon.
You still gotta get out.
All right.
You gotta get
Oh,
out.
I just want to make sure, Cletus, when you go take your picture, Cletus, make sure you have your Speedo on and everything. So it's a true,
Yeah.
true picture. I mean, you gotta make sure.
Shirley got me a pair. Shirley got me a new bathing suit. It comes down below my knees.
He said she got it.
All right. Anything else on the pool? All right. Last item on the agenda is income tax collections through May are up about $72,000. So that's good news as well. So,
That is good.
anything else on that? Anything else for finance?
And Kim said that going into May, we were maybe mid-30s up.
Okay.
So in the month of May alone, compared to May of last year, we were up 30 to 35. So.
All right. Well, we will adjourn.
And don't forget what John said. Check with the youth groups at church. And
Yeah, hey,
I'm
we
gonna
need,
check with
we
the
need
Mercury.
volunteers. John's absolutely right. We need people. People, they just roll up to this thing and they think the event happens like it fell out of the sky. It takes people to do things like Star Spangled Celebration and Kids First Fest and we, you gotta have volunteers.
Yeah.
Without volunteers, there's no event. You just can't have it.
I know the American Legion was gonna do it, we talked about it, but we've got a concession stand. A lot of those guys are more feeble than me, so.
You know, when you look at the shifts that John had, I mean, you're not committing your whole night to the thing. It's like a 2.5 hour shift and a 2.5 or 3 hour shift or something like that. I mean, it's.
I just, when I go.
Are you doing both the shifts for parking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like 2.5 hours. I think like one shift goes from, what, 3 to 5:30, and the other one goes from 5:30 to 8.
Yeah, because by then most of
at
the
8
people are in the
o'clock,
park.
everybody's on their own, because
Yeah.
they say, hey, clear out.
Yeah,
At
they
8
run
o'clock,
over you if you try to.
we clear out of there, you know, so everybody's more or less on their own.
Yeah, you know,
it
it doesn't take a lot of time, and you know, events like Star Spangled Celebration and things like that. They're what make a community a place where you want to live. But it takes people to put those events on. You know, just step up and you know, volunteer a little time.
Yeah.
All right, we're adjourned at 6:42.
Okay, that's my 57th
Well, we'll take it, you need a break, we'll do caucus at 7 then.
Okay.
Can we table that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
have a good lunch today?
Yes.
They have to
Yeah.
do their
That wasn't- I
recommendation.
didn't have
6
feelings
months
that way.
after
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Eric called me at the end. Well, I don't know. I left early
I can
on
call the water
Friday.
cutter
Eric
back and
called
tell him
me
he
right
can
before I left or whatever.
have
Called
his
again
meeting.
this morning.
I think he
So
went
I
to,
didn't.
like,
I didn't quite know what he was calling about on Friday. And then I saw the article in the paper that they had, you know, that event there on Thursday. So, and then when he called this morning, I figured, you know, that's what it was.
Black Day.
Day, right?
That's my anniversary
Yes.
date in the city, in, or?
Good fish selection on the menu. I mean, different kinds
We
of
don't get the
seafood
day off, so don't count the
options.
fish.
Even though I'm listening to
I went downtown today, they probably did more other things.
So you're not doing
That chop house? Oh,
No,
the one that works? Yeah.
And the reason is because the way it's worded.
And the reason
one of
membership's
them-
up for it is
One about
checking IDs
succession
now.
of what's about the mayor.
You have photo IDs for the members.
If, the way it's worded, if something would happen to the mayor, then council presidents can't even do the mayor's spot.
I mentioned
It
something
doesn't allow any for that. So essentially, if he died or resigned, we wouldn't have a mayor until we got together to vote someone in. Anything, well, if it
I
took
need somebody for the 2 weeks or.
for 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, you know, whatever it takes to get someone, because essentially, let's say we got together and I said, well, I don't wanna do it, I don't wanna do it, I don't wanna do it, and all of a sudden, none of us wanted to do it, now we gotta get someone from the outside. Well, how do you get someone from the outside? You almost have to have applications or advertise it, or let people know we're looking for people so they can, you know, and then we'd have to interview them, and, you know, you wouldn't wanna just get a new mayor by us getting together and saying, well, let's flip a coin and give it to John Smith, you know what I'm saying?